Right, welcome, ladies and gents. I'm going to say press X the doubt on this, just because of what Disney have been saying lately and the weird timing of this. I think that's important. So, headline, Loki Season 2 conjures up the second most viewed season premiere on Disney Plus in 2023. Apparently, it's second only to The Mandalorian Season 3. Now, don't get me wrong, loads of people love Tom Hiddleston Loki. And a lot of people watched Loki Season 1. People loved it. Generally, a lot of people really liked it. Had relatively good reviews. Obviously, there are lots of people that didn't, right? And I'm not talking about my personal opinion of it. I'm just talking about the broader aspect. So, could this have a big viewership? Yes. But it's important to note the timing. So, this information releases... Let's get my words out properly. Releases just prior to Nielsen dropping their numbers. So, if you remember what happened previously when Nielsen dropped numbers, they dropped numbers for Ahsoka, and then immediately afterwards, it was like at a blink of an eye, Disney tried to get in front of that and release a press statement to say how influential and massive Ahsoka had been. It's a record breaker. It's huge. Now they can't afford to have that embarrassment again. So I'm just gonna say I think that they're doing the same kind of nonsense, but they're getting ahead of it this time. So they know that Nielsen is going to be releasing their views soon, their numbers, and I think genuinely Disney is trying to play a game of getting ahead of the bad news with an alternative narrative. I mean, a false narrative, of course, but an alternative narrative. So in the eyes of the public, this is the news that people are talking about, as opposed to, well, Nielsen said it was bombing. If that makes any sense. Now again, it doesn't escape me that there are plenty of good things about this show, and there are plenty of things that will draw people in straight away. Ke Quan, for instance, will absolutely draw people in. He's such a likeable guy, and loads of people. I mean, he's sort of just unifying force. People love the chap, and they love to see the fact that he's come back to Hollywood and is just absolutely smashing out the park. So people will be watching it for him. Absolutely. People will be watching it for Tom Hiddleston. Absolutely. Owen Wilson, maybe a little bit, but those are our two primary contenders. So I do think that there will be a pretty high viewership for this. Like 100% there will be. But I don't think it's the numbers that they're talking about. So let's take a look. My sort of preamble out the way. Hit subscribe if you're new here, folks. Turn the bell notifications on and follow me over on Twitter and Instagram for an insight into my mind and my life. Mainly cars and my dog, actually, on Instagram, but never mind. So the God of Mischief is taking over Disney Plus once again, apparently. So here's what they say. Loki Season 2 debut on Thursday tallied 10.9 million global views in its first 3 days on the platform. Now it's important to note, guys, these numbers are never independently verified. They don't have to independently verify them. They don't have to be transparent about them. Essentially, a company like Deadline will just report on whatever Disney tells them to. When it comes to the numbers, that's a fact. Because when it's a streaming, there's nothing in place to independently verify these things. There is no track record. When it's a movie, for instance, there are box office receipts. So it's easy to track. Views are not. And also as well, it's really important to note that a view for Disney is total stream time divided by runtime available. So people could watch half the episode, tune out, and never tune back in. People could watch it multiple times. You know, there's so many things. So 10.9 million global views. That number isn't actually 10.9 views. Well, 10.9 million views, sorry. It isn't. It can't be because of how they define what a view is. And this is why, again, it's that struggle to believe it. Now they say this, that makes it the streamer's second most watched season premiere this year, coming in behind March's season 3 premiere of The Mandalorian. But we know that was garbage and didn't do particularly great numbers. had declining ratings. So a view for Disney is defined as a total stream time divided by runtime available. And that was a long episode as well, by the way. So you don't have to watch much of it to get those numbers up. Actually, at all. So Disney never released data on viewership for The Mandalorian Season 3. However, according to Nielsen, who again will be releasing their numbers soon, and that's why I think that they've done this, the first episode drew about 823 million viewing minutes in its first few days on Disney+. And that's, The Mandalorian Season 3. So Loki's audience seems particularly strong, given that the last time Disney put out viewership data for the premiere of the latest Star Wars spin-off Ahsoka, it chose to tout the episode's 5-day window. Do you see? It's all playing silly buggers. So this makes sense considering Loki was one of Marvel's most successful Disney Plus series from the get-go. It was, but loads of people checked out as well. It was the first of them to get a second season, and as of May 2022, it was the most watched Marvel series on Disney Plus to date. I mean, it was one of the first as well. So, when it premiered in June 2021, Loki had the most successful first day of any Marvel series on Disney Plus, drawing 890,000 US households. And that was Samba TV reporting that. So do you see the discrepancies when we look at this? So apparently Samba TV, which, doesn't have, I think it has about 40 million households that it tracks. As far as I'm aware. And I think that's worldwide. And I think that is in the US, sorry. 40 odd million in the US. And so if they're saying it's only 890,000 US households watching it, I think they put the viewing figures about like 1.5 or 2.5 million views total, I think it was. Which, when we then look at something like this, 10.9 million global, we don't know what that is for the domestic market now. So I'd be more interested to see what Disney says its domestic market is, because Nielsen will only be releasing domestic figures, but I think that they're going to be quite low. And I think that's why Disney has only totaled the global views as opposed to the domestic market views. Because you guys in America, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with having this opinion, but you don't care what the global views are. You care what the general individuals in your vicinity, you care about the domestic market. And so should Disney to a degree, because that's your mainstay. And obviously they care about the world, I get that. But I think that they've done this quite literally to make it look like it's higher than it is. So there you go. Apparently it's a record breaker. Apparently. I press X to doubt on that, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop it down below.